the link to register for PAK 2021. So basically, it's the final stage of the largest student-led startup pitch competition in Southeast Asia, where you get to witness our top 10 finalists pitch it out for the grand prize of $50,000. Yeah, so it will be happening this Saturday, 9th October from 10 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. So be sure to sign up on the link in the chat and we will see you guys there. Yeah, so maybe we can start with the session without further ado. Okay, so thank you to everyone to tune in today and also for the panelists that are here with us. So Bryan Ko, the founder of Lydon Go and Sekoni Watch, Lydon, founder of Bovem, and Melvin Fu, founder of Whizz Mobility. So the session today is to explore how businesses and brands are built from a student founder's perspective. So to start it off, maybe we can hear from our panelists on what is their current, or how did they start this current journey and what they're currently working on. So a brief introduction of their business. So would any of the founders like to go first?
I think perhaps the rest can go first. Let me spend some time to read the questions first.
I can go first. So Lydon Go is a last mile logistics company in Singapore. Started in 2019. We have a fleet of 20 drivers full-time with us and 10 part-timers driving with us. So we basically do last mile logistics and we're expanding into other logistical services like warehousing in January next year. And we are going to continue expanding our range of services in Singapore. For international expansion, we will be expanding June next year with a SaaS model. So that's what I'm doing now.
Right, maybe I'll go next. Hi everyone, my name is Lydon. I'm the co-founder of Bovem. So I'm sure some of you may have seen our brand around. We are a below the waist trimmer brand. So in short, it's called a balls trimmer, right? So we are a premium men's grooming brand that's based in Singapore and we try to focus on below the waist care and hygiene. And I think we started this brand because we found that there was a gap in the market whereby a lot of Asian males, they actually more than 50% of Asian males groom below the waist. But a lot of these males can't find the proper grooming tools and they end up using their own facial shaver and they end up using scissors to trim below the waist and they end up with cuts and nicks and all that kind of thing. So we thought that it would be interesting to bring in a product that could cater to these pain points of some of these Asian males and perhaps help them in their grooming journey. Yeah.
Hello everyone, I'm Melvin. I'm the founder of Whizz Mobility. We are doing last mile robotic deliveries. So currently we manufacture, we design, manufacture, and operate our robots in NTU. I'm not sure if any of you guys read us on the newspaper. I think we've been at quite a lot of places. And then we do. So far, we have delivered 12,000 meals to students in NTU. Delivered more than $70,000 worth of goods and services. Yep. So we are doing last mile robotic delivery.
Okay, thank you for sharing on the startup that all of you guys are working on currently. So back to the point on how Lydon actually found a gap and a problem in the market, targeting Asian males that are trimming balls and us not having a particular product in our current market to actually service them. So what ago that actually made you guys want to enter this particular market? Were there like any gaps or how did you actually came about to enter this industry?
Melvin, you want to go first? I'm curious to hear yours.
Okay. So for myself, actually, for us, we actually started with autonomous scooters. So the reason why we wanted to go, we started with that was because I'm a big fan of Tesla, electric vehicles, climate change. That's my thing lah. And then so I wanted to get involved in this electric vehicle revolution. And then so how could I get in? I didn't know how to ride electric skateboard. So I wanted to do electric scooter. But that was I've been wanting to do that since I was before NS. Okay, and then during NS, the scooter boom happened lah. So Bird, Lime. In Singapore, I think the brands are like Teleport, Neuron, Beam. They are like unicorns already right now. So then our vision was to try to improve this market. So for electric scooters, there's a lot of problems on the sidewalks. There's a lot of operational issues. How they do it is they hire full-time staff to actually collect and rescue the scooters and then bring it back to the warehouse to charge. So we thought that autonomous scooters would actually solve this. And then everyone knows the scooter got banned. So when we were about to launch, it actually got banned. Like literally the month that we were about to launch our autonomous scooter service, right? It got banned. So then, being a student, and also being a student, like we knew like there was sometimes you get bored of your food, especially in NTU. So you get bored from buying the same food from the same canteen every day. But for food delivery, it's very expensive. So as a student, you can't really afford buying from Grab, Foodpanda, etc., etc. And then on the other hand, we also had this capability for autonomous scooters already. We already created this technology for around 1 year at this point, right? So I think like the natural progression was to pivot to last mile food delivery. That was how we got started. Yeah.
I can go next.
How about you, Bryan? Yeah.
Started with Sekoni, e-commerce. I'll do this, keep it short. So e-commerce logistics. So I'm selling a watch, right? Our Kickstarter, we sold to over 25 different countries. So how do you send a watch to 25 different countries in the most cost-effective way? And then after that, we were setting up our website. We have our physical products in Singapore. How do you ship all around the world in the most cost-efficient manner? And the process of trying to figure that out, right? I struggled a lot. There was not really a very good solution. So after that, right, I actually quite enjoyed the process of figuring out how to fix that portion, like the logistics portion of it. And then after that, we dived into last mile logistics. I mean, my co-founder has been in the industry for all his life, 25 years. So he saw this opportunity along with my personal experience. We started last mile delivery. We started with just 2 drivers in 2019. And then right now, and our value prop then was in Singapore was specifically to provide a better quality last mile delivery, because I think we all had our fair share of poor quality deliveries. And so we just grew from there. And then now we're at 20 drivers serving several e-commerce companies, mainly in Singapore. And we want to expand internationally because the Singapore market is only so big. Like we will continue running our last mile in Singapore. We'll continue growing 2 times every year. Like we're at a stable state 2 years into it. We can grow 2 times every year. At least I'm personally confident of that. And the thing is, how do we expand internationally? We don't know the local climate well enough, so we're going to a SaaS model. So how I go into load and go now? So Sekoni is still on, like it's automated. Like everything is, if you buy now, everything at the back end, the warehouse will fulfill it automatically. And specific to Sekoni, because the watches are $350, I could afford to pay $35, $40 for logistics. If your product is $50 like Lydon's, right? you can't afford to pay $40. So like it's an even bigger problem for him than for Sekoni. So yeah, that's how I got into it.
All right, thanks for the sharing. So like understanding how you guys got into the various businesses, right? Was it daunting that there were other juggernauts in the space? For example, Lydon, Bovem, they're like Gillette, Bryan, Sekoni. There were companies such as Timex, and of course, Melvin with Whizz Mobility operating at the forefront of technology, right? There are other competitors out there. So how do you guys actually face all these competitors? And like, what was the driving force that gave you the confidence to actually match up to them and believe that what you have will actually stand out?
Yeah, I'll go first. So for us, yeah, we do have a lot of all these big competitors in the market. Like Gillette is one, and there are other like below the waist grooming brands like Manscaped and like Meridian, which are very big in the US. And I'm sure some of you have seen their ads on Instagram or Facebook or whatsoever, right? So these are very big brands that have entered the market like probably a few years back. But the reason why we decided to still go ahead with it was also because these brands are based in the Western countries like in the US and the Europe, right? Whereas in Asia, their presence in Asia is not very strong when we entered last year. So we felt that this was a very good opportunity for us to continue establishing our position as a leader in the Asian market. And as soon as we did that, they started coming into the Asian market as well. So I think as of now, they still don't really understand the purchasing behavior of Asian and Singaporeans in particular, right? Because Singaporeans, they tend to go for cheaper alternatives and they're more price sensitive as compared to the US, people in the US or in the European countries, right? So as compared to some of our competitors, we are priced way more modestly, which makes premium grooming more affordable for the mass market. So I think that's really one of our competitive edge when we stand against some of these big competitors. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I can go next. Actually, I think I was like nodding my head with Lydon, right? It's almost the same thing. So I think we have a lot of competitors overseas, Starships, Kiwiboard in Berkeley, in the other universities, but there isn't actually a lot of last mile robotic delivery companies in Southeast Asia, and Asia in general. So there is like a niche here that we thought that we could fill. And then locally we do have some competitors, but I think a strong reason why we thought we could succeed was because like for our industry is quite heavily regulated with the PMD, scooters, all this, etc. Right? So for us, it's a competitive advantage to be in a campus environment because it allows us to move faster. In NTU, it's like the biggest campus, I think I think it's like one of the biggest campus in Southeast Asia. Yeah. And then yeah, I think also as mentioned, there's like differences in the local market. So different the built environment for us, like physically the pedestrian paths are different from other markets. The taste and preferences for the local customers is different. So there's slight differences in the delivery. And then I think another way that we are also differentiated is also we are really very focused on the logistics aspect of things. I think Bryan, as Bryan mentioned, like the logistics is really very difficult. So like many different things lah. So we're not so focused on the technology. We're actually more focused on the customer. We're focused on the logistics, how to apply robotics to the last mile. That's another way that we are different from more technologically focused companies lah. Yeah, and then our technology is also remote operated. So if you buy if you buy like the food delivery from and using our service, right? Actually, there are NTU students that are actually supervising the robot. So it's actually, so in that way, we can lower our capital costs for our robots. So each robot actually costs very little to make, because it's really a box on wheels and a CCTV on top of a box. Yeah, so so that's how we actually our price is actually like quite low, and we can expand relatively quickly, right? Once we got the right technology. Yeah. And then yeah, we also have other competitors, sort of like the bigger guys, like the autonomous cars, autonomous trucks, and everything like that. For us, we are really differentiated from them because like we are delivering value right now, right? Autonomous cars is always like 10 years later. That like, it's always next year, right? But we are actually earning revenue right now with our autonomous, like semi-autonomous robots. Yeah.
On my end, the question is a lot of competitors. Why did we still jump into it, right? For Sekoni, I was foolish enough to answer. Like I was just like, it's watches, right? And I started it when I was right after army, and my idea is that even though the watch industry was so competitive, like if I would test my idea through crowdfunding. If crowdfunding didn't work, then my idea didn't work. So I didn't have like an upfront capital. I didn't invest 30,000 from the get-go to invest in to have the MOQ. I did a crowdfunding campaign which proved that there was a certain amount of demand for it, and then we went on from there. So the crowdfunding campaign, we spent $4,000 on ads, and we raised $51,000 in the campaign. So that proved like, oh, the watch industry is big. Like we still got our very specific niche. And then for Load and Go, I mean, for Load and Go, our key value proposition is being very customer centric, and our customer is the business, is the e-commerce businesses. So we want to create the most seamless experience for them. And so yeah, and that has been our key focus. The pain point of bad deliveries right now is everybody knows. Like I got a parcel from Ninja Van that has been delayed already. Like right now, like I because they now got a Telegram chat, right? Live chat with an agent. And I live chat with the agent yesterday and today, right? 60 minutes wait time. And then, so like the point of that is everybody knows, not just Ninja Van, like because they have high volumes, like a lot of last mile logistics players can have very poor experience, and we really try to go away from that. And it's been working out well for us so far because there are customers that align with our values.
Okay, thanks for sharing, Bryan, Melvin, and Lydon, right? So let me just jump the gun a little bit to the operational side of the business. So before moving on to how you guys actually view brands, if I may just ask Bryan on the operational side of Load and Go. So as elaborated that you guys are going away from pain point on bad delivery, going away from high volume, right? How do you guys actually differentiate yourself from Ninja Van such that you're able to provide that seamless experience for your e-commerce customers?
It's really down to the operational flow, the not so sexy stuff. Like if the driver drops you an SMS before he reaches your place, right? The delivery success rate, right, will shoot up the roof. Our delivery success rate on first attempt now is 98%. Ninja Van is just a name because they're so big. Every other last mile delivery company are big ones, G&T Express, a lot of them, their average is 85%. So like we get a 13% jump just from that one SMS. And it's not very sexy, it's just an SMS. Like 30 to 90 minutes before the driver delivers. So how do we, what was the question again? Like, how do we differentiate ourselves from them?
Yeah, exactly.
It's really operational flow. Like we've designed from step one, when a customer places an order, what happens, all the way down to when he receives an order. Or if he fails to receive an order, what will we do? And we have made it very specific to us. And it's only, from day one, it wasn't like that. It only progressed over the years, like over the last couple of years. And we charge higher. That's the main thing. Like a lot of these delivery drivers, they have 150 deliveries to complete a day. And it's through no fault of their own that they cannot provide high service because they just don't have the time to. And we are priced slightly higher and we give a slightly more premium service.
Okay, understand. So basically having, not to overgeneralize it, but having that one SMS for the delivery, it would increase operational success rate like up to 98%.
It's an
Okay,
example. Yeah.
thank you. All right. So moving back to the focus on branding, right? I'd like to get you guys thoughts on how you guys focus on brand. How do you view brand overall? And like, do you guys have a specific like action plan to actually build a brand? For example, for Bovem, it might be intuitive to actually do so, and for Sekoni watches, right? But what about Whizz Mobility and Lydon Go? Melvin, would you like to go first?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, brand is super important, right? I think brand. I actually am not a brand person, so so I'm more of like a technology operations person, right? I think I'm more in line with that. I'm not really a brand person, but I think I do acknowledge like, yeah, brand is actually very, very important. Because I think if you don't have a brand, like you become a commodity, right? Like why would you buy a Nike shoe? It's all made in the same place, the same factory. It's just brand, right? Like why is it that Apple has why is it Apple you're willing to pay so much for essentially the same function, right? It's because of the brand, right? It's really good. So I think for us, brand, how have we try to differentiate ourselves? I think actually for us, we are quite a breakthrough, or like a different technology, is way different. So we don't really need to do that much. Like people already actually videotape on their Instagram, tag us, show their friends and everything like that. So how we do it is, I think we try to encourage it. We make our robots cute. So it's like it has faces on them. We try to encourage them to tag us. So like I think the idea is to capture this magical moment now. Like this we're still on our way of trying to how to generate the brand. But I think like being very thoughtful about it, thinking about what you want to represent, who you are, it's really difficult. I don't actually have like a lot of answers. I don't know whether that was a good answer. Yeah, there's a lot of different things. Yeah.
I'll take 20 seconds because I want to give Lydon all the time because he's a master at this.
Okay, sure.
Brand is important. Okay, Lydon, you want to explain why?
Oh, that was quick. I would say opposite of Melvin, I'm a brand person. I focus more on the branding and the marketing. And I would think that for an e-commerce brand, right, like there are only two things that is very important, which is your product or your branding, right? And to be honest, this below the waist trimmer is a very low entry product. You can find a factory based in somewhere else, right? And then you can easily come up with a product that can compete with Bovem. So that itself is so unless, of course, we will continue enhancing and improving the features, but there's only so much that we can do. So the other thing that we can possibly work on is the branding. So I think branding wise I would say for an e-commerce brand is our unique selling point actually. Like we don't want to be just a ball trimmer, right? We want to be like a personality, a persona, and a character to people. So we try to do it. We try to market very organically on like places like TikTok and Instagram. And I would say we've been quite successful on TikTok, where we have over like 70K followers on TikTok. And we reach out to international audiences as well. So I think that helps us a lot with like recognition and recall when people think of a ball trimmer, they will think of Bovem. And as compared to our competitors like Meridian and Gillette, right, they are more serious, and we take on a more humorous, a light-hearted approach, and people like that. You know, people communicate with us, and we relate to the Gen Zs, I would say. So that's a good that's our target audience as well, and that's a good platform of people to help you continue to promote your business. Yeah. So I would say like branding is actually I would say the second most important thing for us. Yeah.
If I can add on one thing, right? If you, to me, I spend quite a bit of time on branding for Sekoni, similar to what Lydon did with Bovem. I think what a brand is, I think somebody said this, it's what a customer thinks of you, feels. Like once you hit someone, if you go to Bovem's website, right, you will feel a certain way. You don't need to look at any words. You don't need to see anything. You will feel a certain way. And it's exactly what Lydon described. And that's super important. A lot of things add up to branding: logo, colors, fonts, all these things. They add up to branding. There's no need to spend 3 months trying to decide, unless you are Facebook, where a small kernel on the letter would change how 1 million people think about your product or your brand. So it's just how someone feels when they look at your brand. And for Sekoni, it's important. For LNG, we're a lot more operational. Like, to draw the distinction that Whizz was trying to point out, like, LNG branding is important. It's just what makes us money for now is just getting the thing done. So, and branding is, if I do branding now, it definitely benefit me long term.
Yeah, okay. Thanks everyone for the insights. So moving on to being a student founder, right? How is it like, and what are kind of the challenges you face being a student founder, be it competition in the business and work-study life balance?
Maybe I'll go. So I think as compared to Melvin and Bryan, right, I'm not a serial entrepreneur. I only started this venture probably about like a year ago, when my friend and I, we decided to hop on this rodeo, right? So so it's very different being it's very difficult to be a student founder, I would say, because as a student founder, like you don't know anything, you know, you are very inexperienced. You start from scratch, and as compared to some of these very experienced founders, right, they know what to do. So for me personally, I think there's a very steep learning curve where things like admin, digital marketing, operations, so on and so forth, you have to learn everything from scratch, and it's very difficult to pick certain things up, and to be good at it even is very difficult. So I think the most difficult part about being a student founder is to learn all these things and to pick up all these little skills here and there. Yeah, and it's constantly a challenge, and there's constantly hurdles to overcome. And then on top of that, there's school. So you ask me, how do I juggle? I don't really juggle very well, I would say. So yeah, I would love to hear how Melvin and Bryan juggles their schoolwork and startup actually.
I think I've talked to a few like student startups, student founders. I think they basically, it's not really student now. It's just founder. I think you don't care if you're serious about it. Like, basically, you just try to cram maybe the last week or something like that. Ask friends for notes, etc. I think I've asked quite a few, and I think like this is the common thread. I think, yeah. So for me, I also don't really handle student and the business side as good as I can. It's just really focusing on the operation side. It's hard to balance that, I think. Like if you want to get funding, VC, the sort of startup type of thing, like you do have to, I think it's quite difficult. I'm not that sure how to balance. Yeah.
You can't balance, like everyone has said. So like, for example, I have this thing is recorded. I mean, anyways, I have a strat project like due 11 p.m. today that I found out. Well, I have a strat test like due tomorrow that I found out like yesterday. And it's recorded. So if I say it will be recorded, anyways, hopefully it doesn't get. It's online right now, right? So thank God. I don't listen to any of my mods. I just play it. And like sometimes I get in trouble because they open breakout room, and then I've been not in a breakout room for the longest time. And then the prof probably knows I'm not listening. And my prof emailed me saying, Bryan, I've tried to call you up for a few times already. I mean, it's not something I'm proud of. It's just, you make a choice, like, and education can be quite fun. And what I find, because I'm doing business, so I can cram everything in 2 days. If I'm doing IS, I cannot do it. Like if I'm doing IS, there's no way I'm doing what I'm doing now, because I'll fail everything. I'm doing business, so it's a little bit different.
Sorry, can I just add on? I don't think it's all that pessimistic. I mean there are ways that people can manage, like, you know, being a startup founder and like a student founder. And I think one way is like also trying to be organized, right? Like writing down the things that you have to do and like prioritizing your schoolwork or your work, you know. And I think these are choices that you make and you just have to be accountable for it eventually. Yeah.
I think there's also like if you can get like someone to help you, especially for more of the ad hoc stuff and operational. I think more of the operational tasks. I think that can really help, and then can free up to do more of the higher level tasks and then studies and everything like that. I have to say that I think like being a student founder is actually has advantages as well, right? It's not all negative.
It seems like a lot of the emphasis has been placed on like operational and the business side of things, and maybe not so much on studies itself. So like in terms of how likely you would recommend like a student jumping onto this entrepreneurship journey, and then knowingly that time is limited and they have to sacrifice something, like what is it you would recommend them to do if they want to get into this space? Or would you actually recommend them to like try the hands on like being a student founder?
I would say just do it, because I don't know whether it's my mentality or what, right? But like I feel like this is, as a student, it's the only time where you can try certain things. And you know, if you were to grow up, right, or like to take on a job, right, or have a family, right, then you have responsibilities that you have to manage, and you can't take as much risk as you can now as a student. So I think being a student is actually the best time for you to, I personally believe it's the best time for you to go and try new things and go and try your own startup and try your own e-commerce or whatsoever, right? Because you have the least responsibility now as compared to as when you grow older and you start having all these, you have to be accountable to so many different things. Yeah, I mean, there are the cons of like having to manage your time and all that, but I think if you do something that you really enjoy doing, it's going to be a very fulfilling journey. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what Lyndon said. I think it's the best time to do a startup. And I think like, okay, I guess what is school for? Right, school is for you to get useful skills, to network. You know, there's a few reasons, right? What else? To study. that's the third one. What else? I think like pretty much this is maybe to have fun, right? Maybe it's an advanced daycare center for parents, right? So like to go partying and stuff like that, right? That's probably a big strong reason to go to uni, right? Okay, so like can startups actually substitute quite a lot of them? I think so, actually. So like you can actually, like, if it's building on like career, very industry specific skills. You get to network. You network with very high level people, right? The fun part, if you enjoy the startup, right, you can actually, like, it can be quite fulfilling, as what Lyndon said, and fun. After a big win, sales or whatever, you know, you can go and celebrate with people that matter, right? But I think I think my thoughts on like whether everyone should be a student startup. Not everyone should be a student startup. I think like it's actually really difficult, and like you need to be really mentally strong and able to learn very quickly, as what Lyndon said, right? And if you can't take that, if you are not like there's a type of person, right? And if you think you are the type of person, you probably should just do it. But if you like, if it's very if like, let's say your goal is to marry early, very stable and everything like that, right? Like, okay, you're not the person. So I think don't, yeah, not everyone should be like do the startup.
So if to all those like students out there that wants to get married in the next, let's say 3 to 4 years, starting up would probably be a no-no for them.
I think it depends on your partner, right? Like, is the ball is in your partner's court, not your court. Like, are you willing to stay with me if I only have like 5 hours, 10 hours per week max? And then like, are you willing to I might lose everything. I might lose all my assets. Are you willing to be unstable or not? Like, and then probably the startup will be your relationship. I think can ask Lydon and Bryan, like, is your baby, is your wife, it's your girlfriend, everything like that.
Understand.
The question is whether a student should become an entrepreneur.
Yeah, given like how all the focus is on the operational side of business and how everybody have a set of like time is limited. So they will definitely have to sacrifice their studies or their family and whether they should actually embark on this journey.
I think what they have said makes a lot of sense. Like, it's the most risk-free period where you won't lose, you stand to lose the least right now. Because if you bankrupt yourself now because you invest all your money in something, and all your money maybe like a 6-digit figure, you don't have a house loan to pay, you don't have kids to feed. With regards to whether all students should be entrepreneurs, I think entrepreneurship is hyped up. There's nothing sexy about it. There's nothing very cool about what I do every day. I just, anybody else, a tech guy in Google, a tech guy in SME, an operations guy, the drivers, so long as they're happy with what they're doing, then it's fine. I like what I do. That's why I do what I do. Like, I really like the challenge of, I really like the unknown. Like, I really like to try something that, I really like, okay, the core of what I like is trying to solve that problem I set out to solve in the first place. And in the pursuit of trying to solve the problems, I have to do like, in 50% of my time, I have to spend doing something that I don't like. And I wouldn't get through the 50% of the things that I don't like unless I really like the other 50% enough. So it's really because I like what I do that I can get through it. And it takes a certain kind of person. The person is no better than everybody else. It's just different. Like, if you want to start a family instead, kudos to you. I know people who want to have 3 kids by 30. And if you want to have 3 kids by 30, right, you need to give birth very early. So like, and that's kudos to you. I cannot do that. I cannot achieve that in life. Or rather, I don't want to. So yeah, not everyone should be entrepreneurship is not that sexy.
That brings me to my next question, where I wanted to ask if there were moments where you wanted to quit and what made you persevere. So for Bryan, right, probably enjoying solving problems and loving the other 50% of the project or the work that you do. So what is it for Lydon or Melvin or even Bryan for you to add on that enabled you guys to overcome times where you wanted to quit, or were there even such a time?
I think for myself, right, like, I think I mean there's definitely times where I feel like maybe especially now I'm in the last year of my school, my business degree, right? And I see all my friends, they start getting their full-time jobs, they start getting conversions to these big firms, they work in finance, they work in this and that, and then here I am, trying out this little e-commerce space that I discovered a year ago. So it does get, I mean, that does get to my head where I start to think whether, is this something that I should go into, or should I, just give up and take on a normal job, and start finding a proper job. So I think these kind of thoughts do get to my head, but I do think that the fulfillment I get whenever I achieve a milestone in this entrepreneurship journey, right, is bigger than all the things that I'm going to miss out on. So I think that's the reason why I decide to continue. And I do see a potential in Bovem, and like And I do see future plans. I think that's very important, because if you don't see plans in your startup journey or in your entrepreneurship journey, right, then I think that should be a problem, because you should see a future with the brand that you're building, and that's why you want to continue. Yeah, and I do see that with Bovem, and that's why I'm still very confident to take on this entrepreneurship journey. And if in touch wood, if in any case, right, like it does not work out, then okay, I mean, I have this experience, and I think taking this experience to wherever I go in the future could be very, very beneficial as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so I personally also have felt moments of time that I want to give up. It varies from minute, like sometimes it's like the top of the world. You know, like you complete this, okay, you get your funding, okay, you get your funding, right? Then 30 minutes later, someone call you, hey, I want to quit. So it varies from moment to like rapidly, right, throughout the whole day. Definitely, yeah. So I think what made me persevere. Yeah, I think as what Lydon said, I think you have to like what you're doing. You actually have to like it. If not, there's way easier ways to make money and everything like that. Like kudos to Lydon, you know, he like ball shavers. So yeah, you do have to like you do have to like what you like to do. I think I love the technology. I like what we're doing. It's very cool. You know, it's bringing the future now to now, right? Like I think if you come to NTU and you see the robot, your jaw will kind of drop lah. Like what? Whoa, I'm gonna be automated soon, right? And then yeah, so I do kind of like that. I think what motivates us, I think the customers, you know, fulfilling and seeing the positive reactions from our customers. I think the team. So working, you know, you have to be a good team. You must enjoy working with them. Responsibility for the team, because you know if you give up, that I mean maybe Bryan knows more. You know, like they're full-time staff, right? They are depending on you, right? I think that's what motivates me in the short term. But yeah, I think over the long term also fulfillment as well. Fulfillment, because I think like, you know, for us in our generation, we kind of, you know, like, you know, do you all know about the pyramid of needs? Pyramid of needs. So like,
yeah, the Maslow's hierarchies of needs, right?
Yeah. So like, you know, most of us are actually okay with the food and shelter typically, right? So I mean, if you are here, you probably have internet and everything like that. Like you probably should be able to, most basics are already settled already. So I think like the struggle for our generation is really trying to figure out like who are we, or like who am I as a person? You know, struggling with we have to think about fulfillment, right? That's the struggle. So I think startups, like if you really do like it, like it helps you to answer those questions, right? Like what am I capable of? And you really feel very fulfilled if you after the big challenge. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. In being a student founder, right, can I just ask, so like what are some of the, for example, you mentioned that you go through you achieved, in Melvin's case, you achieved funding, you get fulfillment from like actually servicing your customers and things like that. Then there are also downtimes whereby your employees just call you up and say that they want to quit. So for student founders, how do you guys actually manage such situations? And like, what are some of the skills of mindset you bring to handling such situations? Because I would expect myself, or rather, or any other students out there, to be unfamiliar with such situations and cases.
I didn't catch the first part of the question. Sorry.
Yep. So in handling situations, for example, like in Melvin's case, his employees leaving, what are some of like the situations, tough situations whereby you will need to actually handle? So as a student founder, as someone that doesn't have any experiences in all this front, how do you guys actually manage it? What kind of mindset and skill they actually bring to the table to handle all these problems?
I get it. The two different scenarios. First is letting go of an employee, for example. You just have to be very empathetic, and student or not, you just got to be empathetic. First of all, you're letting go of an employee, right? Or rather handling, and if you're letting go of an employee, the person needs to know that it's coming. Like, you cannot suddenly just tell the person that you're letting go of them. He needs to know 2 months out that he's going to be let go of it if something doesn't happen. And then 1 month out, he'll know again, and 2 weeks out, he'll know again. And then when it comes, it's not a surprise to him. And then with regards to how we deal with certain situations when we're so inexperienced, meeting clients, you just got to fake it till you make it. Like, if I meet someone, nobody will think I'm a student, and I don't tell anybody I'm a student, because there's no point. Like, nobody thinks I'm a student. Especially if you see me in real life, I'm big, I'm a tall guy. Like, people think I'm 30. So that's fantastic. And with regards to the team, right? And the team of drivers we have, there's nothing wrong with being a student. Like, you just have another thing that you need to do. And it doesn't make you less experienced. It doesn't make you less qualified. At least that's what I think. And the last thing is, if you don't know what you don't know, you got to say it. Like, you don't, like, especially when it comes to your internal team, right? If you don't know something, right, it's okay to say you don't know. Like, it's okay to learn from other people. And I find myself saying I don't know a lot these days. And I find myself learning a lot more. So at the start, I figured I make it up to the point. I don't know whether you've seen this graph before. Like, you confidence level of a founder, like, you go up and then suddenly you go down all the way. Like, at the start, you always peak because you don't know so much and you think you know a lot. And then up to a certain point, you just know you don't know a lot. So you just say you don't know.
I think for myself, I really agree with what Bryan said about the fake it till you make it. Because when you meet with people who, like, when people have calls with you and meetings with you, right, and you start talking to them, most of them don't know that you're a student, and you just have to put on that front and to show that, you know, you're confident in what you do, and you really believe in what you do. And I think that's one thing that I think being a student, I won't be able to really go and experience. And I think another thing is making like business level strategies, right? I mean, business level decisions, right? Like, for example, I mean, financially wise, you're already handling with money that not a normal student won't handle. Like, for example, if you want to work with a manufacturer and you're going to build something that costs like 200,000-300,000, and I think that's something a student wouldn't have to make a decision. And you, as someone who is so inexperienced, right, you have to see that, okay, am I willing to spend this money to do this thing, and what results will I get from doing this? So I think these are some decisions that you wouldn't make if you are a student, and I don't think that anyone really has the answer to it. It's just really about experimenting and discussing with your co-founders and coming up with a decision that you both agree on. Yeah.
I mean, I think as a whole, I agree with Lydon and Bryan. But if I could just play a bit of like devil's advocate a bit, sometimes actually two things lah, right? One is it actually can be quite advantageous to have a student label in certain situations. I think with the regulators lah. Yeah. Okay. So like if an administrators lah, right? Like, or or talking to the lawyer, or I don't know, I'm a student, right? So actually there's advantages as well. You don't always need to fake it to make it, right? And then I think the other thing that is also important, I think relating to the I don't know, everything like that, right? Sometimes it's good to be authentic to your employees, authentic to your customers and everything like that, right? I think like nowadays everything is very polished, very superficial. Actually, customers, employees, they like to see someone who is authentic, right? Elon Musk is not like the best speaker, right? honestly, he's very flustered. He always trips over himself, right? But people like him because he's very authentic. In his behavior, lah. Right? He says what he thinks. Yeah. I think the question was like, how do you overcome issues with like overcome difficult issues, right? I think Lyndon kind of said it quite like you would face a lot of issues, and how you have to be like you just have to learn very quickly. You need to have a process of learning things quickly. I think you need to have be able to digest information, read books, ability to process information very quickly, go for courses, ask for advice from people that know, right? From advisors and everything like that. Probably you also need to be very strong mentally, physically. So exercise, food, right? Mental health is really very important. And then I think I think like probably those are the things that would help you to overcome all these challenges. Like you can't really prepare for it, lah. It's just really the velocity and the magnitude of problems, right? And like decisions that you make, right? You can't really prepare for it. Like, so you just have to like do the meta thing, which is like prepare to take the challenge, right? You can't prepare for the challenge. Yeah.
Understand. Okay, before I move on to further panel discussion questions, there are a few questions in the chat. So from Sam, his question is to Bryan actually. How do you come up with this pre-delivery message idea?
I didn't. It's in the market since 20 years ago. It's just whether people do it.
Okay, then there's another question from Sam too. Does height... Sorry.
Like,
okay.
The idea doesn't really matter that much, actually. I think the idea provides the ceiling. I think I heard of a good quote. The idea provides the ceiling of like how much you can reach, like for the market size, right? But it's really the execution that determines like your valuation and everything like that. How much you actually, the cash flow and everything like that. So the idea, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And the second question from Sam is, does height correlate with founder leadership? So are the founders today, student founders today on this call, quite tall?
I hope that's not true because I'm on the short side.
Okay.
I'm on the tall side, 195 plus. So maybe, who knows?
I think it probably does. Like people do see you as more of a leader, lah, right? But I think Masayoshi's son, right, is like super short, right? And I think like he had to stand on a stool to go and like scold his employees. So I think it's not a single factor, lah, right? Like probably you just have to use every single tool at your disposal, right? Louder voice, deeper voice. You know, like being bigger in general, right? Like just like use multiple tools, lah, right? Where maybe yeah.
I think to realistically answer your question, I think it doesn't matter. Like there are many different ways to project confidence. Height just gives you, to a certain, like it gives you an advantage for sure. It's not the only way to do it. And there are tall people who are very timid, who project very gentle vibes also. And it really just, there are so many different ways to project confidence, to project leadership, to do leadership even.
Okay. Then there's another question from Alvin. How do you guys come up with solid value proposition? So yeah, maybe in terms of being a serial entrepreneur, Bryan can provide more insights.
You don't know whether it's valuable unless people tell you it is, unless enough people tell you it is. So you just have to test it. Like you can plan all you want behind the doors and nobody knows about the idea and nobody may care because you were just stuck in your own hole. So for Sekoni, I did a Kickstarter. For LNG, we just went out and we just told people about us and people were interested. So you just have to put yourself out. Right now, you want to test an idea, right? It's so easy. Lydon can tell you, you run ads, you have an idea, right? Say you want to sell pen. You got a pen you want to sell, you cannot see. And you think this is the best pen ever. You want to sell for $100. You go take a picture of this pen, you go write an ad copy, you go sign up for an ad account on Facebook and you put $100 on it. And you see whether, and you throw them to a landing page that you take 5 minutes to create, and then you collect that email. If $100 gets you 100 leads, right? 100 emails, maybe you got an idea, and it takes $100, $10 if you want, $10 maybe too little, $100 to see whether your idea is valid. So to see whether your value proposition is valid, it's so easy to test that now. You just have to, of course, you don't take 30 seconds and then come up with something that doesn't work. You spend some time, a week, maybe 2 weeks to think about it, and then just go test it. There's no reason not to test it these days, especially with digital marketing.
Thank you for the solid advice, Bryan. So does Lydon and Melvin have anything to add?
I think there are many answers to these questions, right? Like anyone can say there are so many different answers. But I think for myself, it's about finding the why from your customers, right? It sounds very cliche, and I do agree. But like this guy said, I forgot who said it. Like, you're not selling the drill, you're selling the hole in the wall. So people don't buy the drill for the drill; they're buying the drill because they want the hole in the wall. So in the case of Bovem, right? Like, people are not buying the trimmer, right? They are buying a well-trimmed bottom, like, a well-trimmed below the waist, right? So for us, we focus on why do people want a well-trimmed private area. So I think that's what we focus on, and that's our value proposition for us. Yeah. So it's the why for us. Yeah.
I think it's really quite difficult to know and there's no no, I think, okay, sorry, it's not difficult to know, but it's very difficult to there's no one way to find out. There's no playbook, right? I don't think there's like you confirm like this idea you would know. Yeah, I think like what as Bryan said, like you have to test it out. And I think it's I even now I'm not as sure whether Whizz is really, like what's the real value proposition for Whizz and everything like that. Maybe because mine is a bit more abstract, not so. I don't think I think what we're trying to provide is okay, I'm not that sure. But what I'm trying to say is I think test, like launch early, test as early as possible. I think those are some like typical advice. For Whizz wise, our value proposition is quite simple, like, because for us we are dealing with like sort of like unit economics of things. So I mean, like logistics is like, I think like the statistic is like, if like you take $1 of good, right, like 30 cents is in logistics, like just the part going to the factory producing this, the end product go ship, blah blah, right? Like 30% of the cost is in logistics. So then like we are offering a faster, better, more convenient, cheaper way to do logistics. So like if we can do it, it's huge lah. So I think that's like what Amazon, that's how Amazon functions, right? They target convenience, variety, and cost. Those are the 3 things that they just keep relentless, because they know that these 3 things consumers will always want. Yeah.
Building on like this, right? I'd like to ask the founders today, what does success look like to you guys, and how do you envision your startup in 5-10 years time? Are there any end goals?
So for Whizz, we want to deliver everything to everyone, and we want to make like it's a bit wild, right? We want to make like a physical internet. So instead of the normal internet where you can send information so easily and so conveniently and so cheaply, we want to be able to move anything. So Lydon's product with Bryan, connecting Bryan with us, we want to be able to kind of deliver everything with our robotics.
I think for Bovem, right, like we wanted to try with the balls first, because if it's good enough for the balls, it's good enough anywhere else, right? So we start from the balls, and eventually we want to build a series, a whole ecosystem for men grooming in particular. And I think the success for us will be, if you walk into a bathroom, you should see all of Bovem's product, and I think that's what success is to us in like 5 years, in 10 years time. And I think that's a very abstract goal, but I think that's a very nice picture to paint for us.
I think there are two kinds of successes. One is business, one is personal. And for business success, I mean, they're very tied together because like you're the founders, you started it. For Sekoni, it is to see it, like to see as many people wearing a watch as possible. I've walked along the street and seen people wear a Sekoni watch before. I like to look at people's wrist when I walk by them if they're wearing a watch. And then I saw this one, and then I was looking at it, and then a couple of times already, different customers already. So like I would just look at the wrist. That watch looks very familiar. And then suddenly I look down, then it's actually Sekoni watch, and they recognize me also, because like I'm the face of Sekoni to a certain extent. And then it is a lot of satisfaction because it's so random, like in Singapore. And similar to what Lydon said, for LNG, for Load and Go, it's to like we want to do we want to make international e-commerce extremely easy. So it means having hyper local logistics. It means having, like, if Lydon wants to open a warehouse in the US now, he can, because he just accesses our platform, and it's super easy because that warehouse uses our system also, and we don't operate it, they operate it. And we want to make, so like we want to have like reach all around the world for Load and Go. And for personal success, I honestly don't know yet. Like, I don't know what I want to do. Like, I don't know what it looks like for me. So I'm just doing what I'm doing.
Okay, thank you for sharing. Moving on to the next question, right? I'd like to ask if there are any exciting developments or products that you guys would like to share with our audience today. So be it it's a new venture or like a new product in your business. Yeah.
I think for Bovem, right, we do have something, we do have a line of a few things in the pipeline that we're quite excited about. I think firstly is our globe trimmer. So we call our product a globe trimmer, right? I mean, for obvious reasons. We're gonna have the 2.0 coming out with like obviously the enhanced features and specifications and all that kind of thing. So I think that's something quite exciting and something that we've been working quite hard on. We try to use our product. We understand that there are a lot of competitors in the market, and we try to use our product to beat them, or to be better than them, so that to be better than them. So I think that's something that we have worked quite hard on for the past few months, and we are going to launch probably in like, there are some delays, so probably in like November, December we will see the launch. And also, like I said earlier, right, we want to build a whole ecosystem for men's grooming products, and we are releasing new products into our line, and that will also come in November, December period. Yeah, just in time for Christmas.
Sorry to interject, but are there like any pre-order lists so that I can order this for Christmas present for my friend? Yes, his birthday is near December too.
I mean, I can keep you on our waiting list, and we'll let you know.
Okay, sure. Thanks.
I think I can go next. So yeah, for us, we are also releasing our footboard 2.0. So better mobility, better, more reliable. It works now. It works for real now. It be able to manufacture it, make it much more easily lah. Yeah, and then I think we're just going to expand more into the campus. Yeah.
For Load and Go, we have been a service provider and will continue to be a service provider in Singapore. We are expanding, our warehouse is going to be opened in January. So that is, we're just expanding our services. For the exciting portion is expanding internationally through our SaaS product. What we can provide in the SaaS product is our operational excellence. Like we build those into our SaaS products and sell it overseas. And our SaaS products works just like any other SaaS product. Only difference is that we operators build it, not a SaaS company. And another thing is we can give whoever uses our SaaS product customers, because I mean it's a marketplace of sorts. So it's super exciting. A lot of work to be done, and yeah, it's just a lot of work to be done. I think Lydon's Globe Trimmer 2.0 is quite cool. If you guys are listening to this and never check out his website, right? It's really a very well done e-commerce brand. Like they only have one product now and they're expanding it more. I really think it's very cool. So check it out. If you're a dude, right? I personally have that problem. So like I probably will wait for the 2.0 because I know you guys have been working on it hard. Oh, he sent a link already. So no excuses now. It's really a very cool e-commerce brand and they're doing a very good job. So yeah, anyways.
Yep, so like, is the product only for males? Lydon?
Sorry again?
Is the product only for like males?
Oh, so when we started it, right, like we wanted it to be a male thing, because like for females, there are so many competitors like IPL, Brazilian waxing, and I mean, I'm not saying the males don't do that, but like more females do this kind of like IPL and all that kind of thing. So we wanted to focus on being on a male, positioning it as a male product. But I think as we go on, we started to see a lot of our competitors like Meridian, they start to target it towards females as well. But I think we are still going to focus on positioning it as a male product, because they always say, if you target everyone, you target no one. So we want to be quite specific in our targeting and to build like focus on our vision for the men's grooming. Yeah.
Okay, so I have the last few questions before we go into Q&A. So to all the audience participants here today, you can enter your questions in the chat and we'll go through them afterwards. So for my next question, right, for the benefit of aspiring student founders, what are some of the advice you'll give to yourself if you could go back in time to when you first started your entrepreneurship journey?
Advice. I think the key thing, right? I mean, there's a high level one, there's an execution operational one. The high level one is to really solve a problem. Is the most cliche thing ever. Like, don't try to find a solution for a problem, or a problem for a solution. Like, really try to solve a problem. Like, Lydon's brand works so well only because there's a true problem. Like, and Whizz is really solving. I think what Whizz is doing is amazing. Like they're doing it already. Like what Melvin said. There are so many companies like this that they're just talking. They're just like iterating. They're just waiting for perfection. And maybe they will come out 3 years later and be better than Whizz. The thing is, Whizz has 3 years of experience more than them. So there's a value in that. So that's it. Don't think too long. Just do sometimes. Like you plan enough already, then do. So really solve a problem already, then do. Another thing is have a co-founder as far as possible if you can find, because it's a very tough journey. Like Sekoni I don't have a co-founder for Sekoni. And it's the most impossible thing to do. Even like it's an e-commerce brand and it's still the most impossible thing to do, because you have to juggle so many things. And for Low and Go, I don't handle drivers at all. Like I have 20 that I interact with daily, sometimes daily. Like if there are problems with the software, then they interact with me through the group. If not, I don't interact because they interact with my co-founder. So the point is try to find a co-founder. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so I agree with what Bryan said. Like I think having a co-founder really helps with your psychological and really helps your psychological needs because it's quite tiring to be a solo founder, and there's a lot of things to be done and a lot of things to look at, and it's always good to have someone who is good at this other thing and you are good at this other thing, so that you guys can divide and conquer. But if I had to give myself a tip, an advice for myself, it would be to just go for it, because I realize there comes a lot of time in making decisions where you don't know if this will work or you don't know that will work, and that ends up that takes out a lot of your time and to make a decision. So I would just say, just to, how do I put this? Just, it doesn't matter if it's a beta, a work in progress, as long as you do it first. I think that's half the battle won already. Yeah.
Well, I think for myself, I'm a person that Whizz doesn't have a co-founder. I'm the sole founder. Yeah, and I also say, yeah, get a co-founder, right? Doing it alone is not ideal. I definitely agree with that. I think I think we typically had I had some people that were sort of supposed to be the co-founders, right? But in the end decided for some reason or other priorities, decided not to be the co-founder. So I would say having a real talk with your upper management. I think having what's not working, what's how are you feeling? Are you feeling stressed? Are you feeling do you want to continue, and not avoiding the issues lah, like the real issues, like there's real issues one, but then sometimes that's why I've told myself lah, don't avoid the real issues, like have a real talk with people. I think for me, for those that are thinking of making their own product, I think build versus buy is super duper important, right? So really only build your core competency. Everything else you should buy. I don't think you shouldn't build too many things. Yeah. And then I think the third thing for myself would be hygiene. So don't forget about your ball hygiene. Like food, exercise, sleep. Don't sacrifice it. That's what I would tell myself, right? You can get that last hour of work, last 2 hours or last 3 hours of work, right? But then the next day that you wake up, right, there's going to be 10 hours of work more to do. It just never ends. So you need to feel happy. You need to feel capable of adding more right now already, straight away. Yeah.
If I can add one more thing, I thought of something, and this is one of the most important thing that even I do even right, I try to keep to every single day. The idea of a flywheel. Don't lose focus on what you're doing once you get started. Once you start a business and become a business owner, become an entrepreneur, you need to incorporate your company. You need to do accounting, do 10 different things. You need to compare 20 different accounting software. No, you don't. You don't need to compare 20 different accounting software. You need Excel sheet at the start when you're making $10 per month. You don't need to do so many complicated things. The concept of the flywheel is for e-commerce, for example, the first step is to create amazing products. The next step is to scale through digital advertising. And the third step is to do retention marketing and keep customers coming back. And then it repeats itself. It just keeps repeating itself. Anything outside of this wheel is a distraction. And you will tend to get so distracted at the start because there's so many things you can look at. A lot of them don't matter. For Low and Go, just to give you an example, we improve and extend our services. We scale through B2B sales, and we retain through fantastic customer support, and mainly that. And we repeat. That's all we need to do. If I work on any one of these three things, it will add to each other. If I work on accounting, it won't add to this. If I work on, don't know, incorporating my company at the start, it won't add to this. If I work on trying to figure out what the co-founders, what the founders' equity should be, it won't add to this. I've seen so many founders like, oh, at the start, you have nothing, then you talk, especially students founders. You don't have anything, then you try to decide, oh, should I get 33.5% of my company or should I get 40% of my company? Doesn't matter. You got nothing. Of course, you have to agree from the start, like use something reasonable. Always vest your equity. Don't give someone everything at the start. Vest meaning you can Google it if you don't know. Meaning like you give out the equity over time. So if a co-founder leaves somewhere, he doesn't get everything. If he leaves somewhere, he gets what he deserves. And then, yeah, even if you don't have a co-founder, you should start. Because sometimes you just cannot find one. Like me, I couldn't find. Who would want to do watches with me? Nobody. So yeah.
Sorry, Melvin, do you have something to add?
Maybe I would disagree. Like I think like if you maybe I don't know lah, but I'm thinking like, okay, I mean this is I wanted to say like, you know, Whizz is my first company. I don't I shouldn't take my advice with a pinch of salt lah. So I'm thinking sometimes it would be good to find a team and then come up with the idea afterwards. Not really like, you know, your idea and then like you steamroll and then like sole founder. Like if I could maybe if yeah, that's something that I've been thinking about. That's a good path as well. Bryan, what do you think? Like should it be you know, even if you can't find, you just go ahead first?
I think you can get started. Long run is not good. Because imagine if you're like, there are a lot of programs, like for example, what was it again? There's this program where they help you find a co-founder and they pay you 5K a month. Is it Antler or something?
Antler, yeah, I think Entrepreneur First.
And if you look at the stats, startups with co-founders just happen to work a lot better. Like they succeed a lot more times than sole founders. So I think it depends on what you're doing. If you're doing what you're doing like Whizz, right, you cannot do yourself. If you're doing a watch company where you just need to like keep going at creating a watch, right, and until you do, it may take 2 times as long as possible. That's my thought. Like if I'm doing low and go, I cannot, because like there's just too many moving parts that I cannot handle myself. So it depends on what you're doing. It may make sense if you find someone 6 months down the road, if you've proven something, it may make sense then for a co-founder to come in, because like you already proved that you got traction. Of course, it's not going to get bulk of it's not going to be 50-50 then, because you already done more of the work. Maybe 60-40, 70-30. So it really depends on what you're doing.
Okay, maybe I can just like update the I think yeah, what Bryan says is like, yeah, you definitely need a co-founder, right? I would say advice would be like, okay, if you determine you need a co-founder, right, you need to like full-time find a co-founder. It means like dating, you know. Like I think for me, like I kind of felt that, you know, I'm like Cinderella, you know, like Prince Charming will just come to me at the midnight and everything like that. But you cannot. You must be the hardcore dater, you know. Every night go at one person on. Go and like network and go through the whole list. You must be very active. You can't be the passive thing and then like hope the co-founder comes to you. Yeah.
If any of you are looking for a co-founder, you go Google, find a co-founder. There's an event every month hosted by this guy. He hosts it every month, and it's a very good structure. Even online, it's not bad. And there are quite a few people who attend that event. So basically, you get to share 3 things at the start, very brief. Everybody gets a minute. So once you go through the list, you will know who you want to talk to after that introduction. So like there are events like this, put yourself out there, post on LinkedIn, put on Instagram that you want to look for a co-founder, and then you can find. If not, you cannot find, like what Melvin said.
Okay, this is findacofounder.com. This is what's the website? Yeah. For research purposes.
Let me find. I Google now. I send. You can continue.
Okay. Thank you everyone for the very insightful sharing. Now I'll move on to the Q&A. So from Lam Chi Kiam, he asked the panelists today, what are your happiest moments in your journey so far?
I think the happiest moment will be, there was this one time I was just talking to a friend, and back then, because I'm relatively new to this whole like entrepreneurship and co-founder and startup thing, right? So I was relatively new when I'm selling this ball streamer, and I did not really tell anyone about it. But like I had this one friend who started talking to me about like grooming and all that. He started saying, "Hey bro, I recently I used this trimmer, right? Is damn good. You should go and try it." Then I realized, then he started saying, "Oh yeah, so what's the brand?" But he didn't know that I was behind this whole Bovem. Then I said, "What's the brand?" And he started saying Bovem. I was like, "Oh shit!" Like, okay. Then I started telling him about it, and I think that was a very, very prideful moment for me. It was a very proud moment that I had, because someone actually, like, it actually spread to my close circle of friends, right? And without me having to promote it, you know. So I think that to me is a very happy moment. In a way, it's also a form of like success to me. So it was very coincidental moment, but I think that was most memorable personally. Yeah.
Maybe we'll have a little bit more time for Melvin and Bryan to think through.
Happiest moment. I got quite a few. So like it progresses. Like at the start it was Sekoni. So I thought Sekoni getting funded in 2 days. Like we raised 30K in 2 days. That was the first one. I thought I bombed it. We had an event, 150 people turned up. The audio didn't work, this didn't work. I thought I bombed it. And then that was one of the worst moments, I think. Like I've never felt so disappointed at something. So like there are highs and lows. Then 2 days later, like we met our goal. So and then after that, we had like every new customer we close is always very happy, because like you spend especially the enterprise clients, you spend so long trying to close them. And I think my happiest moment can happen tomorrow or early next week, because we have a deal that if closed will almost double our revenue. We need double our number of drivers in one deal. So like business success is what is keeping me happy for now.
Yeah, maybe I can just add on. I think hitting my financial goals and like business goals is also a very happy thing for me. I really do enjoy that. But like, I think all these personal goals, the little things that makes it very memorable, because I feel like all these goals, you always have goals ahead of you. If after you achieve one, there's going to be another, right? But like, I think these kind of unpredictable moments are things that I won't forget. Yeah.
I think, yeah, for me, it's quite difficult to say because there's quite a few. So like, what's the most happy? I would say maybe it's our more of like our business success lah. So I think it was the moment that we signed the deal with Foodpanda. So I think like we were working for that for like 3, 4, 5 months, right? And then the moment like I think it's like we were kind of like joking like they won't sign it lah and everything like that. So like keep our expectations low lah, you know. Then like, okay, the moment they signed it, okay, then like we were really happy lah. And then you at the moment of time, like, okay, we can let's fuck it up, you know what I mean? Like sign already, cannot like there's a contract. So very hard, yeah. Like they can't terminate it if they wanted to, but yeah, but I think yeah, that was like the happiest moment. That was like one of the happiest moment. Yeah. Probably building, I think for me, like building like the robot actually working. So that like it working in the field lah. Yeah. But I think the reason why it took so long to think about it, I think like every time the customer takes a video, like sometimes I know the moment already. It's like when the two robots cross each other. When they cross each other like a vehicle like that. then then yeah, I think like, wow, actually, this is the future. There's congestion on the pedestrian path. Yeah.
Okay, we have the next question from Sam. He asks specifically for Lydon and Bryan, when do you decide how to make or outsource stuff? For example, your own back-end tech, operations, products, etc.
Okay, maybe I'll answer this question first, right? So my team is very small. It's just me, my co-founder. He's a very good friend of mine, and we have an intern and this support staff. And this support staff, we actually outsourced it from Upwork. And so I think this outsourced industry, right, is actually a very, very good industry for people in e-commerce, because e-commerce is, you have to be so agile, right? You can, how do I say, like, you have to have someone for everything, and there's not enough time for you to find someone. So I think when it comes to outsourcing, right, it's very good to outsource things that you think may take up too much of your time. So for example, right, like we got this support staff because we felt like we were getting so many emails every day, and it takes up like 1 to 2 hours to reply all these emails. And why are we wasting time on such stuff, right? So that's when we decided, okay, we should outsource support staff to help us handle our queries and our emails and all that kind of thing. And also, it gives a better support, because if we were to reply the emails ourselves, right, we'll be too busy, and sometimes we leave emails out on accident. So I think that's when you know that if it's taking up too much of your time, then you can go and outsource certain things. And another thing that you can outsource is also, I mean, platforms like Fiverr and Upwork is so like powerful, I think. Like, for example, if you want to create a logo, for example, you can go to Fiverr and there's so many logo designers. Or like if you want to have your own branding, your own copywriting, you can outsource all those stuff as well, because I think it takes up quite a lot of time. Or if it's not your specialty, then I think you can go and outsource it. Yeah. So when do you decide? I think it's when it is too time consuming, or it's something that both you and your team do not have the expertise on. Yeah, then you can go and outsource. And I think it's very, very cheap as well. I mean, not very, very cheap, but like is in a sense, sometimes it's cheaper than getting a full-timer. But the cons about it is that you don't know if they're able to commit in the long term. And I think as a business or as a brand, you always want someone who is able to stay there in the long run. And I think that's a cons about that. And I think we're trying to work around that. I mean, we are still quite relatively new, so we are trying to figure out all the grants that we can get for a full-timer and all that kind of thing. So step by step. Yeah.
Got right now the government got quite a few. You can go apply.
Yeah, we heard quite a few, and we're trying to record all the websites down and all that. Yeah.
Only got a few only. The mid-career one, because of COVID, got the mid-career one, got the for the fresh grad one. The problem with that is tagged to the number of employees you have. So if you have like 3 employees in a team, you probably will get only 1 grant. You won't get 3. And then that's the main one that's out there now. Other than that, I mean, there are a few like student ones where they can pay for the entire salary for certain students. Interns, right, if you hire, Enterprise Singapore will subsidize 70%. So if you pay them 1,000, right, they'll give you 700 back, which is not, I mean, it's $700. So anyways, to answer that question, I think Lydon said everything there is to say. The main thing is to only outsource when you have a pain point. Like at the start, right, don't spend too much time trying to outsource, because just do yourself first. You cannot outsource core capabilities. Like, I cannot outsource tech. I cannot outsource product creation. I cannot outsource, Lydon cannot outsource product design. But to a certain extent, he cannot outsource. He can get someone to do the actual 3D modeling. The thing is, the idea needs to come from him, because that's their core capability. He cannot outsource ads creation, for example, because that's what drives revenue. That's what drives revenue for Sekoni, for example. So yeah, only outsource when you have the pain point. Don't outsource earlier.
Okay, understand. So another question from Chong Wei. He says, do you factor in your exit plans or M&A plans?
Melvin, Lydon.
I think for myself, right, because we are e-commerce, right, and we're not really like a very startup, right? So I think it's very, very different because when we started this, we had no idea on what's our exit plan or what we're gonna do if it doesn't, because like so one example was after we got, there was once we got featured on Welcome Post, and after that we had so many emails, right, and one of them was this like acquisition company who wanted to acquire us. And back then we were only like 3 months in and we were so lost. So we went on the call, they started talking to us about all the terms and conditions, and like we honestly didn't know what to do. And then that was quite a frustrating moment because we still see a lot of potential in the business. And then they started talking about accounting and all that finances and all that stuff. It was very confusing. So honestly, we don't have any exit plans or any merger and acquisition plans. But if it comes, it comes. I think it's very different for Melvin and Bryan because I think e-commerce is a different space. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a a slightly more traditional startup thing where we try to grow big, like rapidly, building our own technology and stuff like that. So I think for M&A, I think for at least for Whizz, like I know for M&A it's a seller's market. No, so it's a buyer's market. It's a buyer's market. So if you want to sell your company, they will lowball you, right? Like it's more of like the buyer's market. So like, okay, if a big company wants to buy you, right? So and in that case, you can't really control it unless you know. There's very little things that you can control. It's really very, very random. So I think like the best way to think of your exit strategy is to build the best company that you can. Be able to have enough cash flows if possible. If the M&A doesn't go through, right, then you can still survive on your own, and you just get better and better and better. And then at a certain point, like I think like the business development, the corporate development arms of these big companies, right, would notice you lah. Yeah, but I don't think you can really like. There's no way lah. I don't think so. Not that sure. Actually, I would like to know the answer to this also.
M&As for Ecomm, like Lydon said, is very difficult. And there's no need to, I think. Because if you're a good Ecomm brand, you're making money and you will continue to make money. Like for example, if a watch brand wants to buy over another watch brand, it's not because they can make better watches. It's just because they have a customer list that the other watch brand thinks has a lot of parallels with their current customer list. So like the real value in buying an Ecomm brand is in the customers, because like you can sell to the same set of customers. And for Amazon, there are so many Amazon buying businesses out there now. Like, I don't know what they're trying to do. Like, they just buy over Amazon businesses, help them run better, and then they make more money off the Amazon business. So that's for Ecomm. For Load and Go, no intention to raise, maybe. We are profitable. So we are funding everything, our software development, like from our services, our traditional portion of it. Like, and we'll continue to do that. The thing is, if we need to raise, I'm not 100% against it. The only thing about raising is that you are responsible to an outside entity from that point on, and it's very annoying. And it's good in a sense that it keeps you accountable too. Like, you need to really succeed then. And I'm not planning to let go of it unless we're making like 30 million in revenue, margins at 35%, and someone comes and say they want to buy me for 200 million, like, and overvaluing us basically. Unless someone does that, I'm not going to sell. Like, if they don't overvalue me, I'm not going to sell. So yeah.
Okay, we have another question from Sam. He asks, how do you juggle your own girlfriends or family?
I think there's always time for everything as long as you prioritize your time, and you make sure like you set aside time for your family or your partners, right? I think it's really not a problem, unless you are like working 20 hours a day, don't have time for sleep, and then that could possibly be a problem for you. But like I think personally, I managed to juggle it by planning ahead. I think planning for the week, planning for the month is important, so that you make sure you have enough time for every aspect of your life. Or if not, try to leave a bit of time in certain aspects. Yeah.
I don't juggle it very well. I can just say that. And I don't have a girlfriend, so that maybe I can say more about more of the family lah. So family side, I think if you I think for me, I have a very supportive family. So I think like talking to them, making sure that they understand. And I think bringing your family to the startup once in a while, that you show what you are doing, right? Because sometimes just stop telling them, people don't really understand like what you're doing, lah. And then because I think I'm not that. I think like for most parents, I'm not sure, but I think for most parents, like they probably want like more stability, lawyer, doctor type of thing. So if you're doing like a startup and like especially you need to convince over your parents, I think bringing them to the startup, I think can show that you're doing real things, and like people are actually like you have employees and everything like that, like the trappings of a company lah. I think for me, how I manage my actually I pitch to my parents actually. I say like this is why a startup is better. This is the pros and cons. This is the future returns if I do a startup, and then if I don't do a startup, my returns is only by my hourly rate, right? If I do a startup, it's exponential. So yeah, I think you can use your business skills to go and pitch to your parents if needed.
Right. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Bryan.
No worries. To keep it short, I think you can find time for what matters to you. Like if you say you can't exercise, it's nonsense. I said that to myself, and then 3 months ago I started waking up earlier at 6 a.m. And you have time to exercise if you want to exercise. You have time for your girlfriend if you want to. If you don't spend time with your girlfriend, it means you don't prioritize her enough. So that's your problem. You just have to go settle. Anyways, Whizz.
Yeah. Okay, no, I have nothing to add. For the next question, it is from Clarence. He asks, for both Lydon and Bryan, how important is community in the Ecomm space? If yes, how have you guys maintained that sense of community with your people?
I think community is very important. If you have a shitty product, right, you can have like if one person complains about a shitty product, 10 other people will know. And similarly, if one person praises your product, 10 other people will know as well. So I think the community is very important. And I think one way that Bovem does try to maintain that community, right, is also, like I mentioned, it's through TikTok. I think TikTok is a very powerful platform. Like if you guys are not on TikTok, you should go and explore. It's really one of the rising platforms, and you can easily reach so many people at such a short time. And I think through TikTok, we see a lot of like repeat followers and that will comment and support us. If someone like shits on us in the comment section, you have a bunch of people who are like your army, they come and fight for you, that kind of thing. So I think building for us, we try to build a community amongst the Gen Z people, and these are people who understand the today's landscape and all that kind of thing. So that's how we try to do it. Yeah. And also I think Reddit is also very popular. Like Reddit is one of the most critical places you can ever be. So if you have a very shitty product, you can just go and Reddit your product, and you can always find someone hating on your product. So I think these are the two platforms you have to be careful on. Yeah.
Community is very important. Like I said earlier, your customer list is the most important thing for e-commerce. Like your product, somebody probably can do a better job, maybe. There's so many or maybe like better is very subjective also. So we don't do a very good job at Sekoni managing community. Like our main source of traffic now is SEO. If you Google Moonface watches, we're on page 1 here in US, and that's how we get our sales. I mainly spend a lot of my time on LNG, load and go. So back then when I focused a lot more on building community, I think right now what Lydon said about TikTok is very true. If you're not there, right, you should be. The amount of organic reach you can get is something you'll never get anywhere else. Like, it's incredible. And I think Evan is in this call, so like Evan is another founder that is doing a very, very good job. They are doing very well on TikTok also. So yeah, building communities on social media platforms are usually the way to go.
Yep. Okay. So another question from, a question from Luth. He's thinking to start an online business in helping. No, sorry, he's thinking to start a business in helping online sellers reduce parcel damage. In your startups, does parcel damage happen often? That it's a pain point? Yeah. So is parcel damage a pain point for e-com business or even for LNG?
I think it is a problem. Like we do get parcel damages. We do get lost parcels. So just for context, like in the past, we used to use SingPost, and that was our very beginner stage, right? Like very amateurish. We when we have like 20 orders, imagine carrying 20 orders to the White Sands post office, and then you one by one you stack and let the auntie one by one go and take. And that was a very like traditional method, and that was in the past. And SingPost is very, very bad. I mean, is it recorded? Sorry. I mean, like SingPost, it's very, very common to get lost parcels, and you get people emailing you like, oh, where's the parcel after 2 months? Then they can't ask you, and then it's very difficult for you to account to them, and you have to email to SingPost, and SingPost has to get back to you after 1 week. And I think that's very shitty service. So I think whatever Bryan is doing is actually very, very useful for e-commerce sellers, and I can't stress this enough for e-commerce especially. Yeah. So when it happens, we always replace them because customers is the most important, right? So if customers are not happy, we'll try to replace them. And we just have to take the loss on the damaged parcel or the lost parcel. I mean, there's no choice in that. So I think logistics for e-commerce is very important. Yeah.
Yeah, thinking of starting a business to help online sellers reduce parcel damage. How would you do that other than being the logistics company yourself? I'm just curious because it's a very difficult market to go into unless you're the player. Like you're not going to convince me to would use your solution. It's very difficult to convince me to use your solution. Like because I have it, I can do something in my I won't pay you to solve this because I already have my own solution to it. With regards to whether it's a big problem. Honestly, I do BD for this every single day. It's not big enough of a problem to try to solve. Like, meaning a lot of e-com sellers, right? For example, I sell a $15, I'll go to $30 product. My margins, I make it for $5. My digital ad spend on it is $10. I got $15 profit left. Meaning that whatever I spend, I give my customers free shipping. I got $15 profit left. I need to pay as little money as possible for shipping to make the most profit. Meaning that even if I pay $3 now, you tell me to pay $5 for shipping and you reduce my rate of damaged parcels by 2%, I wouldn't pay the $2. Cost is 2%. I probably will lose less money on 2%. So that's my thoughts. That's my personal experience from doing BD every single day. Like even though we're at 98%, people will struggle to, at least not a lot, like not as many people as you think will struggle to get to pay us extra. So we hit the 98%, then they're 85%. Because to them, they're very cost sensitive because they have $15 of profit left. Every dollar extra they pay for shipping, they lose their profit. And $5, right? You pay $5 is 33% of a profit. It's a lot of money. And 98%, right? Another way we hit 98% is not just through the SMS. It's because customers know and expect, as in know that they will receive the product the next day if the website says it's the next day. Because the customers have gotten used to buying from these platforms. Like if we say next day delivery, they know it's next day. Like they don't have to wait around for 4 days. So that's why it's 98% also. So it's like a host of different things. Like we can promise our customers we'll deliver by tomorrow. That's another, like that's why we're at 98% also.
I don't think you want to know about food delivery, right? So just.
Okay, maybe we have the last. Oh, from Luth, right? He actually replied, for context, he's thinking to build a camera to document the packing process to make it easier for you to claim from 3PL.
3PL meaning packing process is in a warehouse. So warehouse usually don't make mistakes on. Very, very, very little. Especially a good warehouse. So you put a camera there, they already got cameras ready. All good warehouses got camera for security. Like nobody steal. Like even when the packing station got a camera already, because they want to make sure they don't steal. At least good warehouses. That's just what's happening on them. You should visit an actual warehouse when you got the opportunity to, a small or big one, see how they do it, and then you can validate your idea.
Okay, maybe we have the last two questions. So how do you guys pay yourselves?
I currently do not pay myself.
Okay, Lydon.
I don't either. I pay myself emotionally through all the happiness that I get from.
I pay myself, and it's just pay off. Like, how do I pay myself? Like Lydon can pay himself, Melvin probably can pay himself also. It's just whether you pay only. And I pay myself or I just pay. Like you need to make money to pay yourself. So a business needs to make money. If you're not making money, right, whatever impact you set out to do it, unless you're non-profit, or whatever impact you set out to do in the beginning, if you're not making money, probably isn't making big enough of a difference. So you need to like have some kind of metric to keep you real.
Yeah, but I agree with what Bryan said. I think we should start learning how to pay ourselves. But it's still something that we're exploring. It's not that we cannot pay, but we're just unsure about whether how much should we put to reinvest in the business and how much should we take out. And so end of the day we just left it there. But I think eventually we'll get that sorted out. Yeah.
I think right now Whizz is not profitable, so we still need to scale up more. I think make the money first, and then like afterwards you can just pay yourself. But I think like at the start, don't pay yourself first. Probably your business needs it more, and then if you have money, like you can just pay, and then probably you should have a bit, because if not, you start to do like stupid things, right? I think yeah, having some money is really good.
Okay, we have the last question for today. It is, how are your margins usually like, or what should a founder aim for? Yeah, and he apologizes if it's a bit sensitive for this question.
What is what do you mean by margins? Like profit margin of the business, or is that if it's profit margin of the business? I think for e-commerce, right, like the average margin that you're looking at is between 15 to probably like 50%. It really varies. I think if you guys have seen the recent post, right, on Secret Lab, apparently they only make 17% for every chair they sell. And recently they say that they're increasing their prices by 10% because they are making close to $0 for every chair sold. Not sure to what extent that's true, right? Judging from the GCB he just bought, but like I think in e-commerce it's very, very common to see very low profit margins because they focus a lot on the quality, on the logistics, on the R&D. So it's very common to see like 10 to 20% profit margins. I think that's the average e-commerce numbers. Yeah.
for e-commerce, yeah, what Lydon said is true. Because it's not just product cost, it's how much you spend to acquire a customer. And it's getting more expensive these days to acquire a customer online. So for Sekoni, we price our products high. Like our margins are very healthy. If we don't like just off the product itself. In general, like if you make a product for $1, you need to sell it for at least 3. That's the general rule of thumb. So like if I sell the product for $350, I need to make it for at most $100 plus, $100, $120. If not, I'm not gonna make money. Like Secret Lab probably, yeah, he just bought a good class bungalow. So like, don't know how true. I mean, like he probably not making money because he paid himself and then like the money not there, maybe, or like, oh, this is recorded. Anyways, for logistics, it's very different. Very tight margins. And for some companies, negative margins if they raise venture capital. We haven't raised for our services business. Our margins are very healthy because we charge a premium. I would say it's about 30 to 35% for every delivery. Warehousing is a bit lower. Warehousing depends on who you're talking to. Warehousing, if you're talking to small companies, your margins will be about 30 to 40. If you talk to big companies who know what they're doing, right, your margins will be 10 to 15.
I think for like maybe more for like the software SaaS, SaaS, right? SaaS, right? I think can be quite extreme. I think that for the software side, that's why software side, I think like what they can aim for is like 90%, right? 90% gross profit margin. And then I think for like hardware, I think like the best ones like Apple and everything like that, they have like 60% gross profit margin. So like your iPhone $800, right? It costs them, how much is that? Actually, for iPhone, I think they cost like 200, 300. That's their cost. Yeah. So is that 60%? I think like roughly lah. Yeah. For us, I think for our robotics side, we have potential to be very high margin if we can automate and we can drive down the human labor cost. That's the most expensive for us.
Okay, I think that's all for today. Maybe we can have everyone to turn on their cameras, then we can take a quick photo. Yep, okay, I think I will, yeah. I think I'll be taking it now.
Yeah, I can take also.
Okay, yep. That's all for today. Thank you, Bryan, Lydon, and Melvin for the very insightful sharing. I hope to learn more from you guys, especially Lydon. Yeah, I think I'll be in contact with you on LinkedIn for the gift.
Sure.
Yeah, okay, that's all for tonight.
Thank
All
you.
right.